I'm going to show you how to change the spark plugs and coil packs on my 2006 Cayman S 987, and we're going to start right now. My name is Aaron, and this is Help Me DIY. Welcome back to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to do some DIY stuff on your Porsches or BMWs or just other cool DIY things in general, start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking that bell notification so you don't miss anything. So like pretty much everything else on my channel, I've never done this before. I just like showing you that if I can figure it out and showing you the step-by-step details, then you can do it yourself, save a lot of money. So these are the coil packs that we're going to be installing. Here is what one of them looks like, or ignition coil, they're sometimes called. And we're going to go with the Bosch spark plug. Here's the info on it. I'm going to have links to all of this in the description below, so don't worry. This car is new to me, and according to the records, it's been since about 2017 since the spark plugs have been changed, so I'm just doing this as part of regular maintenance. To gain access, you just need to jack up the back of your car. I have a lift, so I'm just lifting the whole thing up, and you're going to remove the rear wheels. And then there are just two access panels in here. We're gonna move this one and this one under the wheel well so that we can gain access. You can actually see them from right here. All right, starting with this little access panel, there are two 10mm little plastic nuts right here and right here. And then there's one more bolt we're gonna have to remove there. So you can see that leaves the two studs that just slips through, and that's what these little plastic nuts look like. And this is just a T20 Torx bolt. So it just looks like that. And with all three fasteners removed, you can just slide that over and pull it out of the way. And whenever I do work, I like to line up all my parts so I know that when I'm installing them in the reverse order, I know where everything is. And I know that I didn't miss anything. So to remove this inner wheel well panel now, there's just one more 10mm nut and two more T20 screws. So just lift it off of these two posts. Should be able to wrangle this thing out of here. There we go, pull it off that post. And she comes right out. And now you can see access to the side of the engine block with our coils right here. Now I should point out here, if yours doesn't look quite this open, that's because you might see that my headers are missing. So I have them off right now because I'm doing another project with some O2 spacers. If you're interested in seeing that, make sure you become a channel member because I'm gonna have some member only content and that is gonna be part of it. So yeah. No headers down here. So your stock exhaust, you don't have to remove it. There's plenty of room to still do all of this, but just wanted to let you be aware of that. So the concept behind each of these is gonna be very, very simple. Now we'll just see how difficult it is to do. So we're gonna start with the one on the right because it's the easiest to kind of get to. And there is a little rubber thing covering up your wires right here that you have to slide up and out of the way. All right, so I had to wrestle with that a bit. But there you can see that it's out of the way enough to expose the little clip, and you can see, I'll zoom in here. So you can see the little tab right here where the arrow that's blocking that. So you can either lift up at the bottom, or I think the intended way is to press the top of the tab up here. I'll rock the bottom up, but it is very limited access to get your hand in there. All right, so with my Porsche approved screwdriver, I'll try to do it so that you can actually see what's going on. So yeah, just lift up a little bit gently on that tab and it will become unstuck. And then I should just be able to wiggle it off. Yeah, okay, it's starting to come loose now. My hand not in the way, okay. So there we go, that is disconnected. So you just have to disconnect all three of them. Oh, there we go, I just did that one entirely with the screwdriver. So yeah, not bad. So yeah, just be gentle on these rubber things. So you're not ripping it and you're just lifting it off. Yeah, just very gently lift it off, and then you can stick the screwdriver in the crack and get some leverage and just push it right up. Yeah, very easy. All right, now I want to remove these bolts here, and they are T40s. So make sure you have a T40 before starting this job. And I just have a hand ratchet with a long extension to reach in there. And yeah, these things are not torqued very tight, so they should come off easily. Very, very easy. All right, we got the first one out. Nothing fancy, it just looked like this. Somebody put a blue thread lock on these, interestingly enough, it looks like, but I will not be doing that when I reinstall it. Okay, so once the bolts are out, there might be a little bit of suction, but it shouldn't be too much. And this just pulls right out. So I'll show you a comparison of the old one next to the new one in a minute. So now you can see the spark plug if you look straight through here. I'll show you a close-up in just a minute, but I'm gonna remove the other two coils first. This one will be super easy. This one, there's gonna be some hoses in my way, it looks like. So I'll have to work around those, and I'll probably need a swivel extension to get my bit back there. Okay, so I just got a 3/8 inch swivel right here between my extension and my T40. It's gonna go between the hoses to try to get up to the other one. It's kind of blind back there. I have to just feel around. All right, for this one, it's easiest if you just come up from straight under the car and you don't need an extension or anything. And you can get it on there with just your ratchet. And for more room, after it's loose, I'll just hold the bit and use the bit to unscrew it by hand. I think that's loose enough. Yeah. Just use the bit by hand now to get it out the rest of the way. All right, without a glove, I can turn it by hand. All right, now I'm just gonna pull him out. I have to push these out of the way a little bit. Oh, it's not bad at all. Just curves right out. So far, no issues at all, very smooth. Let me show you the spark plugs. Let me get you a little light here. And yeah, you can see the spark plugs just sitting straight back in there, and we're gonna pull them out. All right, so I have a 5/8 inch spark plug removal tool that is actually on a swivel. It's got the little rubber in there that helps grip onto it to pull it out. I needed this one for the Boxster, so it should come in handy for the Cayman as well. All right, here's my setup with a long extension. And we're just gonna slide him all the way into the hole. Make contact with our spark plug and loosen it. All right, broke it loose. And at this point, it's usually easier to take this off and just spin this by hand until it's loose. And then we can just extract it straight out, and he should be stuck in there. Now, my car smokes a lot at startup, so I'm hoping that some of that is an AOS failure, but that's gonna be the next video testing that out. But yeah, it looks like these are ready to be changed. All right, same process for the next two. Now here's where this little bend in mine should come in really handy. There we go. Gotcha. Oops, no spark plug. Let's go back in for him. Ah, now we got you. All right, so old spark plugs, new spark plugs. New and old, quite a difference. And here are the coil packs. Even they are different. The design has changed. You can see they're the same length. It has an extra kind of baffle here to prevent oil going through, I guess, an extra sealing rings. The hardware is even included, and it is different. So you can see that hardware. This hardware requires a different tool. It's an eTorx, and you can see the design on this is different. So this is a really narrow part where the bolt goes through, and this one covers the entire depth of the coil pack. And the big benefit of that, as you can see, is the head of the bolt. That's why the bolts are going to be longer. The head is all the way up here near you. It's not tucked around behind a corner. And that's why that one was hard to reach and hard to get to on that furthest one in. And when replacing these, if you can't remember, it has the torque specs for you right here, 28 Newton meters or 21 foot-pounds. All right, I just want to run over a couple things with spark plugs before we reinstall them. These are pre-gapped. You do not have to gap or measure or anything with these like you do with some. So that is number one. Number two, I have some dielectric grease, which I've never used on spark plugs before, but after doing a little bit of research, I'm gonna use them this time, and let me show you why. All right, here is the old boot, and here is an old spark plug that I had. So they've been together for quite some time. So let's say that your spark plug is in your car and you press the boot into the hole. So what happens is it's gonna go into here, and I have to press fairly hard to get it in there, and you can see that the friction is going to hold it in here. But what the dielectric grease is for, that's why you get your suction when you pull this thing off. What the dielectric grease is for is to help this boot slide over this ceramic part. So that white and green part of your spark plug is ceramic. This piece at the end is metallic. So it's just kind of like putting oil on your O-rings when you're tightening your oil filter, so that it helps it not bind. Dielectric grease has the same idea. It just helps this slide in smoothly and not damage the end of this. Is that gonna damage the end of this? I mean, come on, probably not, but they make it, so hey, I'm gonna use it. But an important point is, do not put dielectric grease here, because dielectric grease is an insulator and it will cause problems with electricity passing through here, which is what's supposed to happen. So there's a contact in here. You can kind of see it a little bit there, that makes contact with the end of this and puts electricity through here so it can make a spark. So that's the whole purpose of these things. If you are a member of the channel, I'm gonna have a little bonus content coming up. I'm gonna cut one of these things open so we can actually see inside it. Obviously not a necessary step, but one of the fun steps that I wanna start adding for my members. So anyway, dielectric grease, I'm gonna put a little bit just on the ceramic part, just a little bit. All right, so let me grab one of our new ones here. And I've got my little tube of dielectric grease, so let's give it a little squeeze, see how fast this stuff comes out. I have no idea, never used it. All right, it's pretty greasy. See why they call it grease, so I'm just gonna put that much on there. And I'm just gonna try to use a lint-free paper towel. And rub it around. Careful not to get it on the metal part. All right, there, it's got a little bit of grease. This is one of my new boots. Oh, interesting. So it's different on the inside too. It's got some green. So you can put a little bit of dielectric grease in the boot itself, I guess. But I could see how when you're installing it like that, the grease could hit the tip if you're not sticking this in perfectly straight. So I'm just gonna put it on my spark plug so that once it goes in and I'm not gonna push it all the way in right now. Well, screw it. So yeah, it's gonna go in like this, and that grease is gonna help it slide in and not, I don't know, not get damaged. So yeah. Ta-da! Okay, so this is really interesting and freaky. So that green stuff that was in there, I'm gonna guess that is dielectric grease already, because it, you know, came out and it's now my spark plug. So kind of cool. So if you have that green stuff in there, skip the dielectric grease. All right, ready to put these things back in. I am not putting any anti-seize on here because that screws up with your torque specs. You don't need it, and to make sure that my little washer that came with it is on there. I'm gonna insert it back into my tool as such, and I do not have my ratchet attached to this. I'm just holding the extension by hand, and I'm gonna gently slide it back into place. And the most important thing about reinstalling these is to just hand tighten it very gently, because if you use a tool and start doing this, you won't be able to feel if you are cross-threading it. And that's one of the worst things that can go wrong when installing spark plugs. So just hand tighten it until you can't turn it anymore, like that. Pull it back out and stick the next one in. While I have it in the third one over here, I'm just gonna go ahead and click my torque wrench into this and torque this one down. And remember that 21 foot-pounds is not very tight. All right, there we go. Put that back. And similarly torque down the other two. And just so you can see what this looks like from outside of that view. Don't have a lot of room to work unless you get a really long extension. Click and you're done. So we're gonna take our new coils. Put them in. Press them so they're all the way tight. And take our new hardware. Just gonna get those lined up and start them by hand. So this is an E torque spit. This is an E10. So E is for external torques because it's the opposite shape of a normal Torx, essentially. So the torque for these are only 7 foot-pounds, which is 84 inch-pounds, because I have a smaller torque wrench that just has inch-pounds on it. So that's what I'm gonna use. Okay, don't be a dum-dum like me and tighten it up with the connection behind this thing. So now I have to loosen this back up and get that out of the way. Make sure that is not in the way. So new plan of attack, hand tighten these all the way down. And before torquing them down, I'm gonna go ahead and reconnect this. So if you do it in that step, you can't miss it. This part's gonna be easier from underneath. Actually see the connection better. Finally heard it click back into place. And the boot is down. All right, so while I'm down here, I'm just gonna go ahead and stick the other two in. All right, click him in place. Pull the boot down. All right, it's 2. And number 3. Push some hoses out of the way.
guy's a little tricky to grab, but I can kind of see it from down here. Move it around, got it to snap in. That boot kind of got pushed up high. So to fish that boot back down. All right, let me go back down and fight with that. I think it's going to be easier to disconnect it again. Because that part we got down. All right, let me try to pull it out far enough away where I can get the boot back on it. Oh, there's just no slack in that cable. Oh my God, I think I got it. Oh. Okay, well, that was the hardest part of the process, sadly. All right, now we can torque them down, hopefully. All right, I got the trusty swivel again for this guy. Okay, I took off the panels for the other side just to give you an idea of what it looks like. First one, easy to reach. Second one actually has a little bit of tubage in the way, but doesn't actually go in front of it to block it, it looks like. And the third one, easy access. This is, of course, my sole downpipe with its O2 spacers that are in the way. So yours is going to be looking different, and it won't even be as much in the way for you. So repeat the process over here, 3 more to go. So one more members only video that I'm going to be making for you guys who are members is checking out your cylinders by going through the spark plug holes with a bore scope. So here is a quick teaser of what you see as you're entering it, and I'm gonna go into some more details looking around inside there in that video. So join the channel. Whew, all right, that's it. I'm gonna fire her up, see what happens. Wow, the Cayman's been sitting for almost a week and there was really no smoke coming out, which is kind of surprising to me, but that's cool. Sounds like it runs well. I got the exhaust reinstalled with O2 spacers as well while I was in there. So you guys stay tuned for the next video. I hope this was helpful and there'll be a lot more content coming, so stay tuned.